Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is about our Coursemaster autopilot. It's a hydraulic inline drive autopilot which failed on us and we have had to repair it. So if you have a similar hydraulic drive autopilot on your yacht, you might find this episode helpful. So jump right in and let's get started. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. You see my body?
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah.
What do they say? Sailing is just fixing things in remote places. With our autopilot in hand, we made the hike up the hill to meet Henry and his guys at Mega Motor Engineering, an oasis of English-speaking experts. So now you're about to find out what we discovered to be the problem, in what turns out to be a repair on more than one occasion. For those who don't know, an autopilot is a simple piece of equipment that measures the boat's given heading and makes corrections by way of the rudder, and in this case a hydraulic drive connected to the rudder, compensating for forces such as waves, current and wind that all affect a vessel's heading. This in turn allows the crew to rest while the pilot takes over. Okay there folks, so today we have got our autopilot back from Henry. What they did was pull it apart and, well, they first of all pressure tested it underwater. We discovered that at one end, it's actually this end, that's where all the oil had leaked out of, and that was where air was coming out of the O-ring when we pressure tested it in water.
Hi Jesse, this is our second trial. Tahan ini John.
Wow.
Sebelah sini. Mesti tahan ini.
So, what we decided to do, instead of waiting for the parts to come from Australia, we can keep them as spares, but in the interim, Henry tried a bigger gauge O-ring so it supplied more pressure to the piston rod. So they've reassembled it, they've pressure tested it underwater, and it didn't leak any air, so that's promising. It's an old hydraulic ram, it's an old autopilot, it's about 18 years old from what the production date on it says. So it's had a pretty long life. Now, if this doesn't fix the problem, at that point I would probably just replace the entire autopilot kit, the whole thing, because you've got to think about the hydraulic pump. The octopus pump is also 18 years old and that's going to give up. That could give up in 1 week, or it could give it up in 2 years, 3 years, who knows. So I'm hopeful that this will work. I'm going to pull this, I'm going to basically reassemble this now and refill the oil and prime it as best we can, and then El's going to help me by turning the wheel while I'm down there wrestling with it, trying to get the oil pressure up to spec. So big thanks to Henry and his guys again. If we get a couple of more years out of this ram, I'll be happy with that.
We gotta get in there.
Through there. You'll see. Then came the grueling task of manually priming the reassembled hydraulic pump and ram. Manually priming reduces the amount of time and effort required to purge the system of air bubbles in hard to get to places. We cover this process more later in the video. Oh, look at that folks. There she is, reinstalled. So I'm just hopeful that that seal remains okay and that this unit will not leak oil and gather air like it did.
Testing, testing. Unfortunately, after our passage from Ambon to Sulawesi, we again lost oil pressure. Hello there folks, time for some wisdom from the V-berth. We have a little bit of bad news on the autopilot. The autopilot did perform well for about a week. It got us from Ambon to Flores and now it has died. It's very disheartening after having rebuilt that ram twice. It could just be a seating issue, maybe the seals didn't seat properly. I do have one spare set of seals from Australia from Coursemaster that arrived just before we left Ambon.
that could be used. But what we're going to have to do now is pull everything back out of the aft lazarette, and then we'll climb back in and pull that unit out again, and then I'll be stripping it back, or bleeding the oil out first, stripping it back, putting the new seals in, which are actually a different type of O-ring. They're a hard wearing O-ring. This is our seal kit that I was talking about, SK213, and it has been upgraded to the Viton O-rings, which I think must mean they're just a bit more durable. See whether it works. Now if it doesn't work, so much good work's gone into it, but the upside is it's a pretty simple process now. We know how to do it, so I'm just going to get stuck right in before it gets too hot today. Okay.
While Jess has been wrangling that, I've been replacing this sort of mouldy white fabric that's breaking with some stronger mesh netting for our cockpit storage. Cockpit pockets.
Yeah.
For under the Dodger. For storing phones and sunglasses and things, so we don't have them rattling around everywhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
They've been very handy, but they just haven't been durable.
And we're testing out our new Mozzie net up here. We'll see how it goes.
Excellent.
Lots of jobs on the go.
Busy day.
Busy day. Lucky we've got so many peanuts.
Oops.
Episode 1. Oops.
Still a lot of fluid there. Oh dear.
Welcome back. Oops.
Oops. Yes. That's what you call the piston, and you can tell by these two inlets that the fluid pumping one way will push it this way. Fluid pumping this way will push it that way. So that's how the autopilot ram works. Now our seals that we're going to replace again, this one, the two spaces, and then there's O-rings on the inside and the outside of that end, and there's O-rings on the inside of this end. So it's going to be a bit of fun pulling that apart. So that's our end cap. And what I have found that when I pulled out these O-rings, what happens is there's two grooves there. The first one is a wiper seal, which obviously cleans the piston rod of any dust before it gets to the actual O-ring, which is what is supposed to give it the oil pressure seal. Now, I said in the instructions to wash all these components down with methylated spirits before refitting the new seals, and discovered there's a little bit of an abrasion on the inside of one of these seats. So the seat's been damaged when these O-rings have been pulled out to be replaced. Now I used a hook and I was very careful, but I feel maybe it got damaged a little bit the last time it was done. So what I'm going to try and do is get in here inside this groove with a little bit of sandpaper and just flatten off those burrs, those plastic burrs, in the hope that the O-ring will reseat well. So I'm taking out that plastic clip. Removing this O-ring. I'll check the seat here is nice and clean. I'll clean up the shaft. I've given that a really good polish now. I've used a metal polish called Autosol. There's a slight buffing compound in it. Very good for removing those fine scratches. And we'll give the whole thing a wipe down in methylated spirits. And we'll put our new seals in, and we should be able to put it back together. This seal here, if that fails inside the cylinder, all that's going to happen is we're going to lose a little bit of efficiency on how quickly the ram corrects the course of the boat. So this is not the critical seal. The critical seal that's been leaking have been these seals on the piston rod, which are the smaller ones, these guys. And so by cleaning up the seat in the end caps, sanding them down with a bit of emery paper and cleaning them up with some methylated spirits, we reduce the chance of the O-ring in there leaking against the body of the cylinder as opposed to leaking on the shaft itself. And by polishing out those scratches, I think we've got a better chance of maintaining an oil pressure seal. I don't know whether you can see that, but that's a much more polished shaft than it was. was able to get those little fine scratches out. First spacer washer, then the O-ring. So just roll into place, there we go. And last but not least, the second spacer. Okay, you can see there, that's nice and new and clean. Alrighty, now it's time to do the end caps. Alright, down to the nitty gritty here guys. This is the end cap and now our new seals. It's quite important to note that the O-ring goes in first, which is further inside the sleeve, and then this is what you call a dust seal or a wiper dust seal. It wipes the contaminants off the external end of the piston rod as it's moving back and forth, and you should orientate that with the lip facing outwards so that it can keep the dirt on the outside. If you reverse it the other way, you run the risk of dirt building up inside and therefore damaging the primary seal O-ring. So I'm going to clean these guys up a bit more, metho, whack them in. Last but not least, there's another O-ring that goes on there. Beautiful. All good to go. And then we're going to assemble this unit and put it back in the boat and bleed it, put it back in the boat, and hopefully it'll work. Check this out everybody. Very nice cockpit pockets, heavy duty, good for putting one's phone, sunglasses, those sorts of things. What do you reckon? You happy?
I'm keen to see how it wears.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's not the most beautiful thing I've ever made, but I think it's going to work better than it was.
So I think it looks sexy.
Thanks.
Okay. Alright guys, so what we got now is the system is bled as best we can. After bleeding the first end of the ram, we were able to bleed the second end of the ram until we had no more bubbles running through, no more air bubbles. And probably took about half a litre of transmission fluid, automatic transmission fluid. By elevating the pump and letting it drain through with gravity, bleeding each end until there was no more air bubbles. I got the lid off the reservoir and I'm just topping it up as it goes. I'm just letting gravity do this bit. Until I see no more bubbles there, then I'll lock off that nipple and I'll go down and do the second one. Now what we can do is we're going to energize the solenoid, which will allow oil to flow through the unit freely. These are our solenoid power wires. So I'm going to plug that into some 12 volt battery power now, and that'll activate the solenoid right there. So now there's two little bleed screws either side of the solenoid, and that's what you need on a reversing octopus pump. You need to crack them open in order to allow the bleeding process. The piston's going to go forward and back in that cylinder, and it's going to draw oil through and push oil through, and any air bubbles hopefully will come back up to the reservoir. So we'll do that and we'll check for any fluid consumption, and then we'll know that we've lost some more air bubbles.
Carefully reassembling the ram, and here seen using circlip plier tool to reassemble the end cap.
Now folks, it's all assembled.
So once again, we primed our newly refurbished ram and pressure pump, hoping that this time was the last time.
You can't see much.
No.
Hello.
Hello.
Probably best use a phone really in this situation. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. Guys, I reckon this O-ring here is what was the problem. You can see how scored it is inside there, and I reckon the piston rod has been abrasive and it has created our seal to break. So I'd be willing to bet that the next lot of seals will last a lot longer because we've cleaned up that piston rod. So fingers crossed that the new O-ring seals will hold up and our autopilot will give us many years of happy service. If you have any feedback, please let us know in the comment section. Thanks to Elya for helping, thanks to Henry and his guys at Mega Motor for helping, and Coursemaster in Australia. Thanks for watching, take care.
And as always, folks, thanks for your support. Also,
I'm going to play the guitar.
he does. Yes. Alrighty. We should be able to press pilot. Here we go, folks.